This is so. It is already a known fact that major Chinese tech firms are trying to find substitutes to AI chipsets from NVidia, of which one of the key firms leading this transition remains Huawei. Now, there has been quite a number of reports pointing to the fact that Huawei has been secretly working on another set of AI chipsets, and per certain reports, these chipsets even outperform NVIDIA's H100 chipsets under certain conditions, which sounds surprising. Now, putting all this aside, there is another side of the story, which has to do with the fact that this chipset being manufactured by Huawei in collaboration with SMIC remains a 7nm chipset, while tech giants such as TSMC, Apple, and NVidia are even making preparations towards the making and the use of 2nm chipsets, which therefore points to the fact that Huawei is still many years behind. Now, somewhere in the middle of this year, there were reports confirming the fact that SMIC has been able to produce 5nm chipsets for Huawei. And per information from a number of tipsters, Huawei and SMIC already had plans in line to start mass producing this 5nm chipset before the end of this year. So, the question remains, when exactly will SMIC start the mass production of these 5nm based chipsets for Huawei, as the year is almost getting to an end? Now, latest updates points to the fact that Huawei might not start equipping their devices with 5nm chipsets manufactured by SMIC any moments from now, as updates points to the fact that Huawei will continue to use 7nm based chipsets to equip their flagship devices even in 2025, which is next year. So, what exactly could be the key reasons forcing Huawei to delay their transition from 7nm based chipsets to 5nm based chipsets, knowing very well that this shift would have ensured high performance and energy efficiency on Huawei devices? Now, when news came out about the fact that SMIC was actually testing a new 5nm based chipsets for Huawei, it was actually a big surprise for many, for reason being that SMIC managed to use old deep ultraviolet lithography machines to manufacture these 5nm based chipsets without the use of extreme ultraviolet lithography technology. Now, as much as this was a massive achievement by SMIC, their reliance on the use of old deep ultraviolet equipment to make these chipsets also came with their own downsides, with one of the biggest concerns being the fact that this process required more time to be able to manufacture these 5nm chipsets. Beyond this, the production yields were low. All these things played a major role, leading to high cost of production. Now, per other reports, if you have to compare the cost of producing the 5nm chipset by SMIC with that of other chip makers such as TSMC, the cost of production was between 40 and 50% higher, which therefore means that if Huawei were to go ahead with the adoption of these 5nm chipsets, now, as much as this would have ensured high performance and energy efficiency on Huawei gadgets, this would have equally forced Huawei to sell their gadgets at a higher price, which might affect their sales volume. Now, other reports also point to the fact that the current US sanctions on Huawei is equally adding to the complications, as Huawei cannot partner with other key chip makers to ensure they gain access to cutting-edge technologies from ASML. Bear this in mind, Huawei being able to transition to 5nm chipsets will be very vital to Huawei's business operation, giving room for Huawei to catch up to some extent with some key rivals such as TSMC, Apple, and NVidia, who are already pursuing as low as 2nm technologies. Now, for Huawei to be able to make the transition from the current 7nm chipsets to a 5nm based chipset, SMIC have to up their game, as it is believed that currently SMIC is still having some few challenges, especially when it comes to the development of sufficient 7nm based chipsets to meet the current demand levels from Huawei. So, it is not so surprising that Huawei may have to delay the rollout of 5nm chipsets in their gadgets. For now, the 5nm based chipset developed by SMIC remains under testing, so I will be keeping you updated on any new updates with regards to this issue. What is your thought on this? Do you think Huawei delaying the rollout of far better and more efficient 5nm based chipsets in their gadgets is the right move, or this could have much damaging effect on the operations in the coming year? Kindly let me know your thoughts in the comment section. If you find this content informative, kindly don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss my next updates. See you in the next one.